Hello, my name is Jori Leskelä. I have worked as a teacher in Finland in 2 universities of applied sciences, first training engineering students and later training teachers. I'm now mainly retired, having just minor supervising and consulting duties on university level. Before retiring, I worked for 13 years as a teacher trainer in Tampere University of Applied Sciences. In this video, I will explore the principles of constructively aligned teaching and constructive alignment in curriculum design. Before watching this video, you have probably viewed 3 videos that provide excellent insights into this topic. If you haven't, I highly recommend you to watch the videos made in University of Aarhus, Denmark first, and then view this video. And if you find this video interesting, please later on watch the related video that you can find on YouTube and on Learning Teacher Conversations website, the title Assessment Based on and Focusing on Learning Objectives, Development and Learning Outcomes. During this presentation, I will recap the essential points covered in those Aarhus videos and delve deeper into the topic. Let's revisit some key points from the Aarhus video. Here you see a screenshot from the video, and the question posed is, what is the core message conveyed in this image? The answer lies in recognizing that from the perspective of constructively aligned teaching, the pivotal role does not rest with level 1 or level 2 teachers, but rather with level 3 teachers. Level 1 teachers concentrate on understanding student profiles. They often belong to the more experienced cohort of teachers, thinking back the good old days when students were supposedly better. Their focus centers on student attributes and characteristics. Level 2 teachers' primary emphasis lies in effective teaching and delivering engaging lectures. They focus on what the teacher does in the classroom. And then level 3 teachers. This is where the opportunity lies, perhaps even for you. Level 3 teachers shift their attention to student actions. How do students assimilate information? What effective learning methods do they employ? And crucially, how can the teacher support them in this process? By adapting a level 3 perspective, teachers can enhance their teaching practices and create a more student-centered learning environment. Another screenshot from the Aarhus video on the right side of this slide. We will explore the concept of aligned versus unaligned curriculum planning and implementation. When we discuss alignment, we refer to the congruence between the teacher's intended learning outcomes expressed as objectives and methods used to assess student performance. In other words, alignment ensures that what we expect students to achieve aligns with how we evaluate their understanding. Let's examine the verbs commonly employed in course objective descriptions. For instance, a well-structured course might include objectives such as explain, relate, prove, and apply. These verbs reflect higher order cognitive skills and challenge students to engage deeply with the material. However, the reality of assessments often diverges from these lofty objectives. Frequently, instructors pose questions that merely require students to recall or list information, skills associated with lower cognitive levels. Despite ambitious learning goals, students adapt to the assessment context. They focus on performing well in memory-based exams, even if the stated objectives demand more. It's essential to recognize that students are intelligent and adaptable. Beyond mastering content, they also learn the patterns of assessment favored by their instructors. Consequently, their attention shifts toward achieving success within the assessment framework. In summary, achieving alignment between objectives and assessment methods is crucial for effective teaching. As educators, we must consider both the cognitive rigor of our objectives and the practical demands of assessment. By fostering this alignment, we empower students to excel not only in exams but also in their overall understanding of the subject. What does it mean for teaching and assessment to be aligned? Alignment occurs when the learning objectives of a course seamlessly match the content assessed in examinations. Consider this scenario. If the stated learning objectives for a course emphasize application of knowledge in practical contexts, then the assessment must specifically evaluate students' ability to apply that knowledge. Consequently, students' focus shifts towards acquiring the necessary skills for successful performance in assessments. In this carefully orchestrated alignment, where the teacher's intentions, learning objectives, examination content, and students' targeted efforts are all converged, the course is meticulously designed from start to finish. By achieving this alignment, educators ensure that their teaching objectives translate effectively into meaningful assessments, fostering a cohesive and purposeful learning experience for students. If possible, I myself would recommend using alternative assessment methods for demonstrating competence rather than relying solely on traditional exams. Let's analyze the image from the previously mentioned Aarhus video. What might be the core message conveyed in this screenshot? The core message here underscores that effective teaching aims to engage students in higher order thinking processes. In other words, teachers should meticulously design their instruction to encourage behaviors akin to those exhibited by Susan in the video. In this illustrative example, achieving this alignment involves collaborative learning, thoughtful reflection, active exchange of ideas, and the joint construction of understanding. By fostering such an environment, educators empower students to think critically and deeply engage with the subject. Once again, we turn our attention to a screenshot from the previously mentioned video. The critical question arises: what makes this message particularly significant? In other words, what is the key takeaway for educators? The video underscores a profound shift in student behavior over the past few decades. Historically, a substantial majority of students, referred to as Susans in the video, demonstrated self-directed learning abilities and studied effectively. These proactive learners engaged in autonomous exploration of course material. 20 years later, still years ago, university campuses host a larger student population, but the landscape has evolved. Rather than predominantly Susans, we encounter more Roberts. These students demand a different approach from educators, one that centers on constructively aligned teaching and constructive alignment of curriculum with the principles of effective teaching. For teachers, this shift necessitates a deliberate focus on curriculum alignment. Crafting courses that adhere to the tenets of strategic teaching becomes paramount. By embracing this challenge, educators can better engage their diverse student body and foster meaningful learning experiences. Constructive alignment in curriculum planning hinges significantly on the order in which course components are designed. Traditionally, and hopefully now a practice of the past, the sequence has been as follows. The curriculum begins with a predefined set of content, an assumption that certain subject must be taught. This content-centered approach has historically dominated educational planning. Following content identification, educators deliberate on how to deliver this material. What teaching methods should be employed? How can the chosen methods effectively convey the content? Next comes the critical question. How will we assess the acquisition of knowledge and skills? What assessment methods align with the intended learning outcomes? Armed with these decisions, educators proceed to unveil their course plan and execute the teaching process. The conventional sequence, which is now outdated, needs a significant re-evaluation. However, before we delve into the new order of instructional planning, let's recognize a crucial omission from the perspective of constructive alignment. Specifically, this approach lacks the essential first task aligned with constructive curriculum design. Constructive alignment, sometimes referred to as constructive alignment of teaching, serves as our point of departure. It hinges on the harmonization of three critical elements: learning objectives, teaching methods, and assessment criteria. These components work in concert to promote high-quality, deep learning experiences. The key lies in ensuring that teaching and assessment methods directly support the targeted learning outcomes. The previous discussion omitted two critical components: defining learning objectives and establishing assessment criteria. Let's delve into these essential aspects, particularly focusing on the determination of achievement levels. The foundation of any course lies in clearly articulating the intended learning outcomes. These objectives guide both teaching and assessment. They define what students should achieve and understand by the end of the course. Constructing assessment criteria involves specifying the level of competence required for different grades. Often, complexity arises when multiple assessment methods are employed within a single course. In such cases, educators must decide how to weight these different methods. For instance, if the assessment includes both an exam and a practical assignment, what proportion of the final grade should each component carry? Should they be equally weighted, or should one be emphasized more than the other? These decisions impact the overall assessment process. Just as the presented elements so far do not already constitute a complex configuration, I still believe that there is one essential element missing from the diagram. The missing element is located here. Constructive curriculum design extends beyond content and methods. It encompasses a comprehensive understanding of the student cohort. One crucial aspect is learning analysis, which provides insights into their baseline competencies. Understanding the existing knowledge upon which new information will be built is essential. In identifying the diverse of student abilities is paramount. Some students may possess advanced knowledge while others are at rudimentary level. Recognizing this heterogeneity informs instructional planning. Typically, educators assume a single learning path for all students. However, this approach may overlook the varying needs of learners with different levels of expertise. This simplifies planning but may not address individual needs effectively. Unfortunately, time constraints often limit educators' ability to tailor instruction to diverse student profiles. Allocating sufficient time for personalized planning and implementation remains a challenge. In educational practice, mostly because of limited allocation of time, there is often a tendency to operate on assumptions rather than engaging in thorough analysis. The overarching goal of teaching is to effectively narrow the gap between students' initial skill levels and the intended learning outcomes of a given course. What content must be taught to eliminate students' competency deficit? These objectives serve as our guiding stars. How can we best bridge the gap? Active engagement, effective instructional techniques, and meaningful learning experiences all play a crucial role. In summary, constructive alignment, teaching methods, and assessment strategies work in concert to promote meaningful learning experiences. By thoughtfully defining objectives and assessment criteria, educators create a cohesive and purposeful educational environment. Central to effective curriculum planning is the precise definition of learning objectives. Indeed, learning objectives serve as the cornerstone of constructive curriculum design. It's essential to acknowledge that educators often receive predefined learning objectives. However, very often the educators must personally define the assessment criteria for the courses they are responsible for. It's crucial to recognize that both tasks, defining learning objectives and creating assessment criteria to measure learning outcomes, are complex and warrant separate discussions. Thank you for watching this video.